everybody. Welcome to another episode of the podcast, The Power of Consciousness. My name is Vladica, and this time I'm not welcoming one, but two pioneers in the application of behavioral science, Bruce Rowling and Mark Erskine. Welcome. Do I pronounce your name correctly?
Spot on, Erskine. Yeah. It's Scottish.
It's Scottish.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the topic.
Great to be here. Great to be here.
Yeah, welcome. The topic of today is actually what makes people tick. And Bruce and Mark are co-founders of Applied Strength and the senior master practitioners of LIFO in the UK and Ireland. And Bruce has been working with LIFO since 1997 and is known for his deep facilitation skills and behavioral insights across individuals, teams, and organizations. Mark, they complete each other here. Mark brings powerful lens of sales performance and leadership to his work, and with actually over 15 years of experience applying LIFO in the business to business world. So together they have built a movement expanding the use of this remarkable tool across sectors like healthcare, education, and non-profit organizations. And what we are going to do today, we are going to have like inspiring conversation, and what it truly means to apply your strengths and how behavior can drive your results, and why LIFO isn't just a model, but it's actually a game changer. And me personally, I'm totally in love with it. So I would like to start with Bruce. Bruce, you have worked with LIFO for nearly 3 decades. Oh my God. What is it that still excites you about this today?
I came to the LIFO model as a participant. I was working in an organization where the predominant behavior was quite assertive. It was quite a hard driving organization. There was a particular style that was very focused on results and performance, getting things done very quickly, constantly being asked, have you done this? Have you done that? Are we on track? And I found myself a little bit out of step with that, because my style is not quite so driven. I mean, I found it important to achieve results, and I wanted to show my capacity and competence to do what the organization wanted to do. But we had a consultant in who gave us all the questionnaire, and we did the questionnaire, we got the feedback, we read the reports. And I alone stood out in a corner as somebody who had a different style. And it was so illuminating for me, because the picture that it painted for me was absolutely accurate. It was like looking in a mirror. And it also gave me an understanding, not to be critical of my colleagues, but to understand why they saw me differently, and why it wasn't personal. It wasn't about my personality. It wasn't whether they liked me or not. It was about the way I operated. And so the thing that really drew me to LIFO was that it enabled us then to talk to each other about how we operated, what our priorities were, about getting things done from an operational rather than a personality point of view. So we were able to use the language of LIFO to describe, it would be really helpful if you could do this or you could do that in a way that was non-judgmental. And I mean, coincidentally, it made me realize that I would probably be better doing something different in the organization than the task I was given. But that was helpful for them and helpful for me. So that switched on a light for me. And then a few years later, when I left that organization and set up my own consultancy, one of the first things I wanted to do was to get LIFO as part of my toolkit. And that was the start of it all, really. So the light bulb moment for me was as a participant and we don't use this very often, but being LIFO'd myself.
Yeah, it is like that, isn't it? For a lot of For me it was the same. It was I was looking at my profile, and it gave me some insights, and then I started to think about it, and one day I noticed, like, wow, this tool is great, maybe I should look like deeper into it. So thank you very much. Interesting start. And now let's go to Mark. How did you realize that LIFO had the potential to change actually how we sell, lead, and connect?
Yeah, it was in particular selling, because I spent most of my career in sales. So I was running a corporate sales team with about 10, 12 people,
Mm-hmm.
and always looking for something for sales meetings to do something different to add value. And we all took the survey, all understood it. It was actually run by the previous partner to Bruce and I, lady called Bridget, and she ran the session, and everybody was just blown away by the results, how accurate they were, and began to understand very quickly how we could use it in sales, because the ability to be able to read other people and get them to connect with you better, quicker, is fundamental to winning business.
Mm-hmm.
People buy from people they like. Yeah. And if you
Absolutely.
can make them like you, because you can adapt to their style, because they don't have to adapt to you. They're the customer. But it worked incredibly well. And I therefore moved on into other organizations, took it everywhere I went. Then I set up my own consultancy back 15 years ago. And LIFO was going to be an inherent part of it, 100%. And it's just grown since, to the extent that my sales consultancy business I've now shelved completely, and we just focus on LIFO and behavioral profiling. But for me, I think it's summed up by the fact that if anybody, I was on a podcast actually as part of an exhibition a few years ago, a sales
Yeah.
exhibition, and the guy that was running the podcast, said that classic sort of question:
Yes.
if you went back to when you were 20, you know, given the experience that you had now, and you can see the grey hairs, so hopefully I've got a bit of experience. That what would you tell yourself? What advice would you give yourself? And I said without hesitation, I said, if I'd have known behavioral profiling and understood the power of it in selling, that's what I would have told myself. And at 20, and now perhaps I wouldn't be on a podcast here with you. I'd be on a beach in the Maldives instead, permanently. Yeah, to be able to do that. But it just blew me away, and that's one of the things about LIFO that we get constantly from people, is that it's just so accurate. And for people who haven't experienced before, it's just a moment that opens your eyes and you suddenly think, wow, that's why I get on with that person really easily, because we
Mm-hmm.
share those preferences. And the other
And that's
person that I
why,
dealt with last week, the
yeah,
reverse, no
exactly.
wonder I couldn't connect with him. Yeah, because I wasn't adapting. And it's just such an amazing tool from that perspective.
So I'm thinking it's also, you say adapting, but it's, for me, it's actually more than that. It's a way of connecting with
Yes.
people where it's not about understanding them, but actually becoming aware that I don't have to defend myself here, or I don't have to react here. I can just be with this person, because this is not, they don't, they are not saying or having this behavior because they want to hurt me or do something
No.
against me. It is just the way that they behave. And
Yeah.
yeah, for me, that it has become the deeper connection, the moment of being present with who I have in front of me, and how can we collaborate together. And yeah.
Just to sorry to interrupt you, just to go back to something you said there about whether it's people who like me or whether I'm upsetting them. One of the metaphors that Mark and I use in our training fairly early on
Mhm.
is the metaphor of the mirror and the wardrobe. So if you get up in the morning and look at yourself in the mirror, either with no clothes on or very few,
Mhm.
That is you. That is your personality. It's who you are. It's your values, your beliefs, and it's unchanging and more or less unchangeable because it's who you are. It's all that stuff: life experience, early years development, the influence of your parents, and early years learning. And that's who you are. And you don't want to play with that, and you don't want to try and get people to be something different.
Mhm.
But when you say, what have I got on today? What am I doing? Have I got an important meeting with the chief executive? I've got to present my plan to him. I know who he is. I'm going to go to the wardrobe and choose some clothes to wear. And in the same way with behavior, we can go to the wardrobe and choose some behaviors that we know will click with the people that we're going to meet. So if I've got an important presentation to make to somebody who matters, and I know pretty much from the work I've done and observing them, I know what their style is, I know how they want to hear my message, then I'll be more effective. And so going to the wardrobe and saying, actually, I'm a fairly laid back sort of guy. I don't mind. I'll just be fairly relaxed about it. I know that the CEO doesn't like that. He wants
Mhm.
me to stride in confident, purposeful, with pace, energy, and action. So that's what I'm going to do. Now
So,
that doesn't challenge who I am. It
yeah.
just challenges what I'm going to do.
So this is actually consciousness, right?
Mhm.
It's walking totally conscious 24/7 and treating people the way they want to be treated.
Yes,
That's very powerful.
hugely powerful, and
So,
that's really important to understand. That self-awareness is the start point. If you look back at over the years, there are so many iconic people in the public eye that agree that self-awareness is the key to their success. You can go back as far as Aristotle, and he'll tell you that
yeah.
self-awareness is the key. You can then go to Maslow, which everybody knows, hierarchy of needs and everything else. He said exactly the same thing. You can go to Billie Jean King, famous tennis star. She says self-awareness was the key to her success. And you can
Mhm.
even go to Dolly Parton, and she said the same. Yeah, they
She
they
was, she was
they
singing
are
out.
so an eclectic bunch, but understanding yourself and how other people see you is fundamental to it, because we've all got all the four preferences or
Mhm.
four behavioral styles. We just need to draw upon them, or if we particular neglect of one, get somebody to help us to make that connection. There are lots of ways to be able to do it, but self-awareness is the key. Bruce and I came across a really powerful book a little while ago called Insight,
I
and I've
bought it.
and
I
I've
bought
got a
it.
copy
Okay, good.
here. Yeah,
I have it here.
by a lady called Tasha Urich, and the
Yes.
difference from what she says to a lot of people is that's the one. It's understanding not only yourself, and LIFO will give you that, but it will also give you, and LIFO will give you the ability to test how other people see you by getting feedback from others. And you're not truly self-aware until you understand that. The greatest chief executives, people understand and seek out feedback. They seek it out. They don't just accept it when they hear it. They go and ask for feedback and get feedback from others.
So I have to challenge you here. When you say how other people see you, isn't that the projection of how they filter information through their own lens?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's part of
And
that as well. But you can't not have that feedback. Yeah, and that feedback might be totally different from one person to the next, based on what their behavioral preferences are. They see the world in that way, and
Mhm,
therefore how they see you is different to somebody else sees you, because
mhm.
they see you in a
So
different.
if
It's
I
fascinating.
understand, so if I understand what they prefer, and I can, and I'm aware of that, it is easier for me and for them to connect. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Ah,
100%.
very
So it's
interesting.
that understanding.
Well, something else that I think is worth picking up here, and Mark and I talk about this a lot, and unusually because we pretty much agree on everything, which has its pluses and minuses. Um, this question of feedback and the whole bigger picture of behavioral profiling. So you take a survey and it's based on a series of algorithms and numbers, and it gives you a report, which is remarkably accurate. And most people say, yes, that's absolutely me. How amazing that this set of questions has told me exactly who I am. Then you can get some 360 feedback surveys, so you can test particularly the impact scores with other people. But all of that, the survey, the report, the 360-degree feedback, is only the very beginning, because the real value in this comes then out of discussion and dialogue and examination of the results. And as you said, challenge. And if the feedback I get from somebody else looking through their lens at my style and my operating style, my behavior, surprises me, and I say, well, I'm really surprised that you should say that about me, because that wasn't my intention, and I
Mhm.
don't think that's how I behave, but it's funny that you should see that. Then you can explore that through dialogue, and so with using the language which is non-controversial and non-judgmental and non-critical. Say, when you say you think I'm this, give me an example. Tell me a story of when that has happened and how you saw it and the effect it had on you. And then you can start to build a really rich picture just based on the information that the behavioral profiling tool LIFO gives you. And I think we both agree that the survey, the results, the report are just the beginning. It's
Yes.
then the ability to have that discussion. And as you say, why do you see me? I didn't think I come across like that.
Yeah.
Yes, but I do. When I see that, that's the effect it has on me.
And one of the misnomers about profiling is everybody, I mean, pretty much every tool on the marketplace that you use, profiling tool, agrees there are 4 behavioral styles that we all possess.
Mhm.
They put a different name to it, they might put a different color to it, but they all pretty much agree, which is quite reassuring that there are 4 behavioral styles. What so many of the tools on the market fail to emphasize enough is that we are all a blend, and therefore it's not as easy as saying that person is red, yellow, controlling, supporting, whatever the terminology is. It doesn't matter. We're all, one of the fascinations of human beings is we're complex. Yeah, and we're all a blend of a number of styles. I mean, if you look at the statistics which LIFO's done, 55% of us have a preference for 2 of those behavioral styles, 31% have a favor for 3, only 9% have a preference for one style only. And yet, we see so many people using these tools and going out and saying, oh, he's red. Well, no, he might have a preference for red, but he's something else as well. And if you want to connect, you can find another place to connect them, one of the other styles, because they'll have a backup style, they'll have something else. So it's quite complex, and that's one of the things that we like to emphasize, really.
We are not defined. This is what I like about the tool. It is us, the humans, that are contracting us into boxes, that you are this and you are that. And what I personally love about LIFO is that there is actually no definition. I am this. Uh, I have all those possibilities and
Yeah,
capacities. What I am going to do with it, it's up to me when I become aware of how I behave.
yeah.
So it's wonderful. Thank you so much. I am assuming that a lot of human resource professionals benefit from this instrument or this facilitation, and leaders. Um, what advice would you give them if they are interested in to embed behavioral awareness in their culture?
I think that the first step to get them on board is to get them to experience the tool, because that'll get their buy-in. Yeah. Go and take a survey, get some results, get some feedback, and they'll realize the power of it. And they'll then begin to realize, well, maybe I could do this with my senior leadership team. Maybe I can do it with multiple teams. And,
Mhm.
and, what we want is to be able to build a team that has the capacity for using all of the styles, because all of them are powerful in their own right, and you need a blend. um, if you have everybody doing the same thing in the same way, a bit like Bruce's example, that's not effective. Yeah, you need challenge, you need debate, you need people to say, no, I don't think we should do it like this, we should do that. That's where learning comes from. And therefore building a team together and then an organization, get an understanding of where everybody is, because organizations tend to, when they look at training or development of their people, they look at skills, they look at knowledge, they give them all of those. How much time do they expend on behavior, on attitude? And yet it's a critical part. We've done some research recently with on the back of a project we're doing on recruiting people, and the CIPD, the Chartered Institute of Personal Development here in the UK, recommends that there are 3 elements to it. So it talks about, and one of those, it talks about skills and it talks about knowledge. And the third part is behavior.
Yeah.
And you have to do that as part of your recruitment process and development process, because that's what the tool does. It's a great development tool. Build a personal development plan. I need to be more assertive. I need to be more planned, organized, disciplined. I need to be whatever. And it just needs development. So it's huge from that perspective. I can see Bruce is dying to get in.
Tell by my body language.
Inspire us.
Actually, I'd like to say it's my body language, but he knows me so well, he reads my mind. So that's
Yeah, I just wanted to ask actually, how have you shaped your work together, and what has made this partnership work? And now I can see.
there are two little stories that I wanted to add, but before I do that,
Yeah.
both Mark and I have a similar profile. There are some differences, but we're quite similar. And there is one area where we both lack much in the way of preference, where we avoid this particular style as much as we can. And that is to do with data, numbers, accuracy, reports. We don't very much like that. So because it's just the two of us, when it came to deciding who was going to be financial controller, we decided that we should adopt a very serious, a very detailed method of deciding who was going to do what. So I suppose you to know that we flipped a coin and I lost. That's a little story.
But the importance is we recognize that deficit, that
Yes.
possible neglect, and you just begin to work harder at it because you're more aware. You have to make up for that in some ways. And I.
But do you work harder, or is it much more ease knowing that?
Oh, much
Both,
more easy
both.
when you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, both.
Both.
I mean,
And
I adopted a process when I first, because when I was in corporate land, as I called it, working for other companies
Yeah.
and being a sales director, I could delegate all of the detail and the process and the structure and the logic.
Of
That
course.
was easy. Great.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to worry about it. I set up my own business. I thought, oh my word, I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to do that now. So I adopted a model from a sales perspective, which was 2 days a week. I would look to find new clients. Yeah. So I'd do all of the business development work, go out and find new clients who are going to be there. 2 days of work, 2 days a week, I would service my existing clients, so training, development, whatever. And 1 day a week, I would be what LIFO calls conserving, which is the logic, detail, everything. And I did that on a Friday because then I could have the weekend off. Yeah. I didn't have to do it. Yeah. So Friday was typically my conserving day, and I would plan, organize, write up things, organize myself for the following week, review the past week, do all of that planning, logical things which you need to be able to do. Yeah.
So
And then I could relax over the
are
weekend.
you saying that the LIFO tool helped you with this?
Oh, hugely. And let me give you an example. Every year in my business, the consultancy business, all of the clients that I serviced, I asked them to give feedback on me. So I send them a feedback survey and I get the results in. Now, 10, 12 years ago, they all recognized very clearly my lack of conserving holding very easily. But the last few years, every year since, it has gone up. gone up in
Interesting.
terms of results. They
Interesting.
actually think I'm quite proficient at it, which is quite funny.
Congratulations.
But then again, I work hard at it.
Yeah.
So, I make sure that I don't, don't let them see that deficit.
No.
Don't let them see me not being that organised and disciplined. And I work very hard at it, and the results have improved every year. And that's
And I do
just
think, I do think,
self-awareness, putting it right, developing myself.
Yeah,
and I do think,
sorry, Bruce, what I
yeah,
hear you saying, it's actually more that you want to become a better version of yourself. You
Yes.
want to step into
Yeah,
your greater capacities and use them all. Why not?
absolutely.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
yeah.
and the just on the back of what Mark was saying, the thing is that the behavioural style and the preference for a style isn't an indication of competence or proficiency. I can do it. I'm actually not bad at it. Doing the numbers. It's just that it's not what I choose to do. Yeah, yeah. I like all feedback is good feedback. But so yeah, so it's not about whether you're good at it or not, because sometimes people have a very strong preference for a behaviour, but
Hmm.
actually they don't use it especially well. But they're separate things: competence and preference. Just going back to the 2 points I wanted to make, because my background is not in sales. My background is in both training and facilitation.
Hmm.
So most of my time was spent standing in a room in front of a group of people, small, medium, and large groups of people, either helping them to resolve issues by helping them to have the right conversation,
Hmm.
setting an environment where they could talk amongst themselves. Because I wasn't going in as an expert, I wasn't a subject matter expert or a consultant. I was a facilitator. I was there to help them have the right conversation, to unblock something or solve an issue or come up with some ideas. In a training environment, my role was to impart knowledge, so to transfer knowledge, experience, skills from me to their hands. Now, everybody in the room, and there are lots of different ways of looking at what our learning style, what our preferred learning style is, and there are Honey and Mumford and all those styles. The other thing that's important in a room is the behavior. So I manage my behavior, and I give you an example
Yes,
which was
please.
very powerful for me. I was working with a colleague with a group of people from the public sector. It was a housing initiative in the UK.
Hmm.
And everybody turned up on a Friday evening. And one lady turned up, and she was immediately quite hostile to our process, to us. She was very challenging. And I said to my colleague, "Oh dear, we're going to have trouble with her over the next 2 days. She's going to be a difficult participant." And he said, "Whoa, stop. There is no such thing as a difficult participant. There are only participants.
Wow.
We don't know what she's bringing to the party. We don't
Exactly.
know what her experience is. We don't know what is causing her to act in this way. So we'll watch her style and her behavioral style, see what questions she asks, see what challenges she comes up with,
Hmm.
and meet her where she is. Don't have this image that she's somehow different and difficult and got to be handled differently. You watch her style, and she will soon tell you why she's how she is. She might
I'd
think
add
she's
on the I'd add
Yeah.
on the other bit to Bruce's comment as there's no such thing as a difficult participant, but because he also says the only problem is the facilitator in
Exactly.
those
But
circumstances.
actually, what I hear is that this is so powerful what he said right now. Because imagine, like all of us being and having that behavior, that means that we never ever exclude anyone based on the judgments that we have suddenly filtering from our own experience, but
Yeah,
we are open, receiving, and from this, I mean, amazing projects can come up and possibilities with each person that we interact
totally.
with. So wow, this was really eye opening and powerful.
Yes.
so
Yeah.
the second quick story I wanted to we look at projects because we look at projects largely on a discipline basis. So we've looked at some work in education, and Mark and I I've done some work in schools with the teaching team and the senior management team. We've done work. We've done work in a fairly high-powered sports environment where there are quite a lot of temperaments involved. And one of the projects we're also looking at the moment is change. Now, change management, and I'm not an expert in change management, but we have colleagues and partners in the organization who are experts. And I constantly test the idea that change management has historically been a lot about project management. No flow charts, tick boxes, have I completed this task, tick, move on to the next one. And not enough time has been spent on carrying the people with you. Hearts and minds in change are as important, possibly more important than the technology and the techniques and the hardware. And LIFO has been really useful in helping people to manage the challenge of change, because there are a lot of people who are quite resistant to change. I work with a manager who said, "Oh, I'm a change freak. I can't get enough of it. I love change. Every day's got to be different. And we're going to reorganize the office, and it's going to be open plan, and we're going to have hot desking and so on." So I said, "Okay, so we'll take your office walls down." He said, "Oh, no, I'm keeping my office." And there's no change to my office. It's just everybody out there is going to be open plan. So I said, "Okay, so change is kind of, for somebody else, not for me." But yeah, so change is an environment again where it's really, really powerful to help people engage with the process, and the information you give them about the reasons for change, the speed, the objectives, the waypoints on the journey, all that can be helped by an understanding of the behavioral styles.
So now, in the time that we are in right now, where we have the age of hybrid work, constant change, what I notice, I also work with people like all over the world, facilitating consciousness, and I see this fatigue of emotional fatigue and the scarcity of what is coming. Are you saying, or do you think that LIFO is especially relevant right now in this time?
100%. It's
100%.
really
I agree.
important. Yeah. During hybrid working and everything else, one of the things, well, there's another great book to recommend. It's a book called Social by Matthew Lieberman.
Okay.
And the subtitle of the book is We Are Wired to Connect. Yeah. And we
Oh,
all suffered over the last few years of not being able to get enough interaction with each other. And it's great you can do this on a screen. Yeah. But what do I see? I see your head and shoulders, and that's it.
I can stand up.
Yeah, and also you miss out on so much of the body language cues
Absolutely.
and everything else. So you need to work harder at connecting with people and understanding, because it's more difficult.
Yeah.
So you should use the life orientations or any other behavioral profiling tool in order to understand people better and connect with them, because it's more difficult across a video screen. And every salesperson I worked with over the last few years says, "Oh, I hate it. I want to be in the room with people." And they're absolutely right. But
Yeah.
what they should alternatively do is say, right, how can I do it differently? Of course. Yeah. How can I, if I am stuck with video screens, well, how do I make that work for me? And there's a lot of things that you
Yeah,
can
I
teach
can
people to be able to do.
I can bring the facilitation angle into that as well, because obviously my style of facilitation was to be in a room with people
Yeah.
with resources and cards and paper and moving around and doing exercises. And I was actually halfway through a workshop when lockdown came in, and my client said, "Sorry, I know we've got 2 days, but don't come back tomorrow because there won't be anybody here." So it was quite brutal, the cut down. And fortunately, I had a client who said, "Oh, I've come across this fantastic tool called Mural." And it enabled me to more or less replicate the tools and techniques that I use face to face on a screen. And I think the point that Mark's just made there is really important. I accept the need for us to get together. I accept that we're social animals, but sometimes it's not possible. So sometimes with global teams, for example, they only ever meet remotely. We need to learn new ways of doing things. And
Yes.
instead of saying, oh, remote meetings are so limiting and they don't work as well, let's work harder at making them work. And let's understand how we could harness some of these behavioral styles in the language that we use.
Yeah.
So when we talk about behavior, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about facial mask, pitch, tone, and volume of the voice, body language, and some other clues about what people say. But on a screen, we're limited, as Mark said. We've only got head and shoulders, so a lot of the visual clues are shut off to us. So I use my hands quite a lot, so occasionally they flash on screens, but it's not the same as seeing the whole picture. So we've got to work at it. We've got to work harder and learn different ways of doing it. So
Yeah.
instead of saying remote is not as good as face to face, we say remote is as good as face to face, and we will use them each appropriately
Yeah.
as the
Yeah.
need arises.
But
The
profiling
remote
and
meeting,
understanding the customer, the person across the
yeah,
screen, is probably more important than ever, to be able
Yeah.
to do that, to make that connection. Because we are,
Yeah.
as Bruce said, as I've said, we're social animals. Yeah, we want to
Yes.
connect with people. Yeah, that's
mhm,
that's humans for you. Yeah, there are
mhm.
few
And we
screwed up
want to
people who don't.
touch,
Yeah,
we
we
want to
do.
touch, we want to
Yes,
Yeah,
feel, we want to
yeah. One of
sense, yeah.
one of the things that occurred to me as you were talking earlier, is that there's a danger that some people, and we've heard it in courses, isn't this all a bit manipulative? Yeah, and it's not. It's actually just using your human skills to connect with people. We all
Yeah.
adjust our behavior
So
depending
beautiful.
on whether with the boss, or whether it's with a direct report, or whether it's with a colleague, or whether we're out socially or in a business setting. We all adjust all of the time,
Yeah.
because we want to connect. So this is just providing a tool that allows us to provide a language around it. You start to say, oh, that person is probably a blend of these two. So if I behave slightly more like that, I'll be more successful at connecting with them. And they'll feel more comfortable. And that's the key. They will feel more comfortable with you. And if you create that connection, and life becomes easy. Yeah, life
Yeah.
becomes much,
True.
much easier.
True story. Thank you so much, Bruce and Mark, for your wisdom, for your presence, and for your engagement of, helping, contributing to individuals to know themselves better, and showing us that behavior isn't something we fix, it is something
No.
we harness.
Yes, definitely.
yeah, very
Um,
good.
So, and thank you to all my audience. If you are a leader, you are human resource manager, partner, facilitator, or you are just you finding this video, and thank you for being curious on how to work smarter, be smarter, and live smarter with yourself and with other people. I hope this conversation will be an invitation for you. And Mark and Bruce, what would you like to end up, and what would you like to say to the audience, and where can they find you?
I
Yeah,
think the key for me is, you used the phrase, I know it's sort of LIFO phrase, to become the best version of yourself. We
yeah,
should all continue to strive. The moment we stop trying to do that, then we're going backwards, not going forward. So
yes,
that's the message. Become the best version of yourself you can be. But you need a framework. You need something that allows you to discuss it, to debate it, to define things. And that's what LIFO has always given to me, from that perspective. So, that's what I would say.
thank
Yeah,
you.
I've very little. I've very little to add to that. I think perhaps if I loop back to where we started, and when you first said, Bruce, what do you have to say? I think back. I have a very vivid recollection of when I first did my questionnaire. I can remember the room. I can remember the two trainers. I can remember my colleagues vividly and explicitly. So it clearly had a very big impact on me.
Yes,
Um, And I think the next thing then is to say, when Mark said, what's the best next step? The next best step is to experience it. Reach out, take a survey, look at what it tells you, and realize for yourself that it's powerful. So the first step, if anybody's interested, the first step is to reach out to us or anybody else involved in profiling
And
and say,
that
I
means
want to have a go at it.
the main Life Orientations website, because you will find all of us on there as practitioners,
Yes.
under whichever part of the world that you are.
Yes.
There are LIFO practitioners in over 60 countries. So lots of people to look and to give you advice and to be able to lead you through the process. If you want here in the UK, it's Applied Strengths, that one.
I love your T-shirt.
That's our brand that we came up with, which is a LIFO phrase, really. Apply your strengths. Yeah, it's a strength-based tool. So learn what you're really good at and use it.
And be that. Learn what you are really good at and be that.
Yeah,
yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. And thank you so much to my audience. If you like this video, please share it with someone who is looking for how to apply their strengths. So thank you. Have a wonderful day, and check out our next podcast, which is coming next week, The Power of Consciousness. And we have another fascinating guest. Thank you.